G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckle, Marks Point, with Friday afternoon's fishing report backdrop here. I'm at Marks Point Marina, Belmont Bay, and the drop over, just over my shoulder here. A little bit of east, southeast winds, and it's on the back of that extremely hot day yesterday, and obviously the big bushfires raging out the back there out through Western and Curry. So I certainly hope all the guys out there are in a safe situation about now. It's really the wind shift hopefully will blow it back on to where it started from. Tomorrow, of course, you've got a cracking tide, guys. 197 at 11:30 in the morning, and about 20 past 6 for your low tide, and the new moon rolled through on Wednesday. This weekend's fishing is really good. There's a huge tidal exchange tomorrow, guys, so just be aware of that on bar crossings. You've almost got around about 1.6 metres, or maybe a little bit better, of tidal exchange from high to low. So, you know, the old analogy, you know, no run, no fun when you're looking at the estuary, but a lot of water moving out. Out wide, of course, congratulations to Lucas Stansfield and the crew from Fifi. I had a bit of a fish there last weekend, and they got the first male in the season for Lake Macquarie Game Fishing Club. They got 2 from 5, probably should have got a couple of others. I think my good mate Wally Walker may have struggled on something. We won't talk about that. I'll remind him tomorrow when we actually get a chance to get out there myself for a bit of a fish. But lots of bait out wide, guys, lots of dolphin fish, and really good water temperature, 23, 24 degrees. The current wasn't too bad, and look, it's looking good, particularly tomorrow and of course Sunday. These winds tomorrow will be variable in the morning, turning to southeast in the afternoon. Sunday it'll sort of be a bit more east-southeast, and as we move into the early part of next week, go a bit more east-northeast. There's a bit of a change coming next Thursday, so we're really going to make the most of this weekend and those 3 days, the first 3 days of next week. We'll give you an update next week on what's happened out wide, but we're looking forward to getting there. So marlin and dolphin fish out wide on the inshore, what we talked about last week on the fat and those outer traps. Some really nice mahi-mahi through there, and definitely worth a troll for a marlin because the water's 23.5 degrees in on the fad. So there's some really good temperature, and of course those east-southeasters will hold and maintain that better water quality along our part of the coast. Still a few reds getting caught out wide. The odd king, of course, but look, it is starting to drift off a little bit, particularly down around that Texas Terrigal mark, the perch grounds. I think you're better off if you're going to go out wide, maybe for a king, but probably occupy yourself on a few snapper in that deeper water. Inshore, still that sprinkling Bermuda, but nothing really to rave about. But again, snapper and a lot of trag. There's a lot of bag limit catches of trag getting caught coastally, and it's basically right the way along the coast, right up through Newcastle, Port Stephens, of course, and some big snapper getting caught at Port Stephens, but right the way through down to Norah Head. A lot of trag on the inshore reefs. There's some great fishing for our inshore fishery, and particularly that high tide tomorrow around 11:30, you'll be able to fish the whole tide as it rises. So I would expect to see the odd mulloway mixed in with that. Beaches, look, the whiting have really gone next dimension. That water temperature hovering in just above now, 21 degrees. So we're getting closer and closer each week to 22 degrees. So a lot of whiting, of course, brim, heaps of dart, but we're starting to see quite a few school dew. There still is the odd flathead around as well, but it's really that total summer theme all the way through. So that theme will go, you know, probably for the next 2 months, where we just see whiting, brim, dart, you know, flathead, dew. We'll just be talking about it for the next couple of months, and then into February, it's not that far away, we'll probably see that resurgence back on Taylor. But on the beaches, looking very special. And of course, worms, the preferred baits. If you're a rock fisherman, there's still a lot of ludrick on the rocks, and I'm quite surprised at this point, but there's some big schools south of us, you know, definitely down towards Catherine Hill Bay, and no doubt up Reddit as well, and the bay. Some big schools of, you know, ludrick getting caught off the rock platforms, the odd drummer as well. So again, still worthwhile, and there's not a lot of swell. Wasn't much swell this morning, so a good opportunity to get down on the rocks on that tide. The estuary, of course, the prawn run basically has finished now, but there's some good results at the beginning. You know, a couple of kilo of prawns, size was down a little bit, and then it sort of just drifted off a little bit as we went through. But still, the prawn run will probably improve, and of course our next one through into January, well, hopefully we start to see a little bit more size. It just dropped off a bit of size. I would have expected a little bit of better quality coming out, but it really put the estuary alive. So there's a lot of whiting in the estuary, so good numbers of whiting right throughout the channel, and of course in these sandy areas here, which are behind me in Belmont Bay, right the way around Belmont Bay and down towards Nesca Park. Plenty of options down there, guys. and some really nice bream. Been some good flathead getting caught, and we're getting closer and closer to that spawning period for those flatheads. So there will be definitely some bigger fish out there amongst it, and there's still some really good reports of the old lake kingfish in big numbers and some really good mulloway. And surprise, surprise, yesterday there was some really nice tailor caught in the lake above that 50 centimetre mark. So I'm not sure if the school had been here and just a bit quieter, or indeed it had come in the last week or so. But we've certainly got diversity. There are a few crabs around, but I've had a few questions on crabs. They are thinning out a little bit, so a lot more females around, and the males are starting to get quite watery. So just be aware of that, and you may need to move your pots around. Guys, all in all, a great weekend to get out there. This big tide tomorrow is going to be perfect. Hopefully I'll have some surprisingly good news if we get out there and have a bit of fish tomorrow. Our sale is continuing. That total clearance sale of all of our fishing tackle is on in earnest. I thanks to everyone for the response, and it will continue until we get to the end of January, when of course we will move on and seek some retirement. So hopefully you have a good weekend. Hopefully we have some success tomorrow when we get out there, and I'll see you next Friday.